to say book review, but I don't actually have a name for this series of videos. But occasionally, I do like to take a look at a book, and in this episode, I'm going to be looking at the Beano Book from 1995, and if you are unfamiliar with what the Beano is, it is a British comic book series, and prior to the filming of this video, I actually did a little bit of research on the Beano, and I discovered that it actually published its first issue in 1938, which was a huge surprise to me. I didn't think it was quite as old as that, so yeah, very surprising. I probably would have said the 1950s, so to find out that it was first published in 1938 was quite a surprise. So when I was a young lad, once upon a time, I was very interested in the Beano, and I used to get the comic book series once a week, and every Christmas I would receive from Santa Claus the Beano Book, or the Beano Annual, as I used to refer to it as well. And this particular issue is from 1995, and I actually picked this up on Amazon for a very reasonable price. It was only a few pounds, I believe. And if we open up the front cover, we can actually see that in 1995 it cost £4.50. So I actually picked it up for a cheaper price than it cost. So if we just take a very quick look at the front cover here, I will explain who a few of the characters are before we get into the main segment of the book. So in the front here we have Dennis the Menace, who is the main character of the Beano. And this guy is Nasher, who is his dog, and they get up to all kinds of mischief. All the stories revolving around Dennis and Nasher involve them getting up to mischief and causing all kinds of trouble, and essentially that is a running theme with all of the characters, I think, in the Beano. And it's been many years since I looked at the Beano, so I am going to have to work from memory. But I think these guys here are the Bash Street Kids, who were another set of characters, but you will get to see them in more detail throughout the flip through of this annual. So if we just begin at the first page here, we have some more characters, and this is Minnie the Minx, who was, as you can work out from the name, another character who got up to no good. And this guy which is, from memory, exactly how all of the Beano comic book episodes began, and indeed the annual as well. So here we have Dennis the Menace and Gnasher out and about, and it looks as though they are looking for someone to fight, but nobody is up to their standard, it looks like. So they have stumbled across some army guys here who are even afraid of them as well. And you can see them jumping through the windows and doing everything they can to escape. So yeah, as you can see, the Beano is very well illustrated. We have all these different segments that you would expect to see in a comic book. And of course we don't have time to read through any of the stories, but we can look at the images and some of the speech bubbles and things. And what I remember about the Beano from childhood is, even after you are finished reading the speech bubbles, you find yourself looking at the images in great detail because they are extremely detailed. We have all these different things going on, and it takes you time to cast your eyes over it to see exactly what is going on. And that's something that I always loved about the Beano. So who is this now? I don't actually remember this character. We have the Germs, also starring Lee Will. And I have to admit, I really have no memory of this character. This is quite strange, to be honest. And here we have Roger the Dodger, as I mentioned at the beginning, and he was one of my favourite characters. I just always thought that Roger was very cunning. So here he is. It looks like he's being challenged to a race by his friend. And knowing Roger, he's up to no good in an attempt to win the race, and obviously win a bottle of lemonade here. And it looks as though Roger has won the race. But of course, he hasn't won the race fairly, as his car was being operated by a little mouse. As you can see, his friend isn't very happy about that. So here we have, this is the Bash Street Kids, and this is their long-suffering teacher. I think that's all that they called him, was just teacher. I don't think he had any other name. Oh wow. So as you can see here, we have some very detailed boxes here with different images, and they are a lot smaller than what we've seen up until this point. This is Jinx. And again, this is a character I don't quite remember. It's been probably about 25 years since I've taken a look at a Beano annual. And since this arrived, I actually avoided having a look at it always have some very cunning ways of teaching him how to get around getting food out of people or getting out of a tricky situation. But usually it involves food. So as you can see, this one didn't end particularly well for them, as they ended up in hospital. Alright, so here we have Billy Whiz, who was a very fast runner, as you can see. And he wore this lightning bolt jersey. So it looks as though in this episode he's taking a trip to the Egyptian pyramids. The locals aren't very happy about that. Okay, so now we have a story revolving around the character of Biffo, who I don't actually remember. I'm quite surprised at how many characters I don't recall. And this is General Jumbo. This looks to be for slightly older kids, I think. Yeah, this isn't ringing a bell either, but it looks like this is probably for kids that are slightly older than some of the other characters are intended for. So yeah, it's quite an extensive story there. It's involving some small soldiers here. This reminds me of Toy Story. Yeah, I think that's the longest individual story that we've seen so far. Oh wow, we have the three bears now, who I do remember. I really like the three bears. We have Ma here, this is Ba, and then this little guy is Ted, who is their son, I think. And much like Gnasher and Nipper, a lot of their stories revolved around creative ways of trying to get food, generally for free. I don't think they had any money, so they always had to find inventive ways to get food. Here they are visiting the store. But generally, it didn't work out too well for them. And now we have Ivy the Terrible. And yeah, I do remember Ivy. I think she was the youngest character within the Beano. There she is there, and I think she's probably only around 5 or 6. And as I mentioned earlier, I think pretty much all of the characters within the Beano get up to mischief and were generally badly behaved, which just made for a lot of fun and a lot of chaos. So let's see who we have here. Good, clean fun. And here we have Dennis in the hot tub. And this, I think his name is Ball Boy from memory, but we haven't seen him yet. ghostly image. It almost reminds me a bit of Ghostface from Scream. So here we have Smudge. And the running theme with Smudge was, as you can see, he always got himself into a mess. So he's always covered in this, I guess it's mud. And in this story it looks as though he visits somewhere quite scary, this castle down here maybe. I think that must be Frankenstein, is it? Actually reminds me of Herman Munster. And there's his mum, forever having to clean up after him. Okay, so let's see what we have here. Best dressed pests. Best dressed pests. And Dennis is saying here, Christelle Jones from Coventry has designed these absolutely fabulous outfits for me and Nasher. Turn the page to see how we look in our new creations. I guess it's a picture of Christelle Jones in 1995. And it looks as though they're very talented in art because these drawings are all very well done. These look just like Dennis and Nasher. So here we have some really crazy outfits. I really like his hair there. I don't think Nasher's too happy here. And it looks as though he's dressed like Elvis here. And he's saying, guess where I got the chest hair? And he's got it from the head of Walter the Softy. That's what this guy was called. I'm quite glad that I remembered that. So this was a guy who was the complete opposite to Dennis. He was very soft and he liked to do things like knitting. And he played with teddy bears and things of that nature. And Dennis and Nasher used to often pick on him. And here we can see Nasher hitting him in the face with some peas from his pea shooter. And here we have the first appearance of Minnie the Minx, who was one of the main characters as well. And let's see what she's doing. Okay, it looks as though she's trying to get some apples out of this tree. And this guy here is her dad, who is always having to chase after her. So as you can see here, the apples have hit these people on the face. And her dad is not very happy about that. It's the Minx. Get her. And this actually makes me think about the Beano video, which I owned in probably the mid-90s as well. And there was a very similar story to this in the Beano video, in which Minnie was trying to get apples out of a tree, but I think that makes sense. That they would bring to TV some of their best stories. And the Beano video was very good, I really enjoyed it. I remember watching it over and over in the mid series, and it is actually available on YouTube. I remember watching it not too long ago for nostalgia purposes, so yeah, if you have young kids, I think they would really enjoy it. So if you search the Beano video, you will find it. And here we have the Desert Song, sung by Minnie. And I'm sure for any kids reading along with the lyrics, they probably made up their own tune to it. So here she is going off on some sort of adventure. This really does take me back, looking through this particular annual. So as you can see, there are quite a few pages for Minnie the Minx. She was one of the most popular characters. And here we have the three bears again. And there they are, looking for food, as per usual. I do remember this guy from the Beano video as well. I think, yeah, his name was Hank, and he owned the food store. There we go, Hank's Mega Store. And in the video, they were trying to sneak into the Mega Store to pick up some free food. And here we have some, it looks like some notes that have been sent to teacher from the Bash Street Kids. Reasons to get out of school. So here's one that says, "Dear teacher, I can't be at school today as I have an appointment with my dentist. Yours truthfully." I like that. Yours truthfully. Danny. P.S. My dentist just happens to work in Majorca. And Majorca is a Spanish island, if you aren't familiar with it. Okay, so here we have Ball Boy, who I mentioned earlier. I think this is the first time we're seeing him. Yeah, he was really into his football, or you might call it soccer, depending on where you're from in the world. I'm not sure who this guy is. It might be his dad, or it could be his granddad. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, it is his granddad. I love the nose on his mum. Look how pointy it is. And here we have another story with Biffo. And there's Walter the Softy again. Let's see who we have here. Calamity James. Yeah, I don't recall Calamity James. There were some characters that were, I guess you'd call them main characters. And then we had a bunch of side characters. And I would consider television song contest every year, which is held in May, I believe. And that's a competition that's been running ever since the 1950s, I think. Oh wow, look at that image. It's quite gruesome. And this is Little Larry, who I don't recall. But again, he looks to be someone who's up to no good. And here we are back with Ivy the Terrible. And there she is, actually holding an issue of the Beano. And the Beano itself was in paper form. I remember being able to fold it up and then carry it in your back pocket. That was sort of the cool way to do it. But obviously this year, being the Beano Annual, it is hardback. I think this came out once a year. And as I mentioned earlier, I used to get it from Santa Claus every Christmas Day. And it was one of the things I really look forward to. So here we have some images of some of the characters mixed in with some real life people. So that's very clever. And I would imagine that, yeah, they are the creators of the Beano in the mid-90s. And here we have some of the illustrators hard at work. Pathetic Athletics. Looks to be another Dennis the Menace episode here. So there's Walter. And I do actually remember the names of a couple of Dennis's friends. I think one was called Pieface. And yeah, that's it. I just remember Pieface, but I'm not sure if any of these guys is Pieface. So there's Walter, the softie, and his friends wearing their very fetching pink tutus. And here we have the Yeti with Betty. And yeah, I do recall this one. And I would consider this to be one of the side characters. Or side stories, I should say. And here we are back with good old Roger the Dodger, who has came up with a very interesting contraption here, which is feeding him so he doesn't have to get off his seat. He was always finding ways to dodge situations. And there's Roger's mum. And look here, he can't even be bothered to ride his bike. He has to have his dog pulling him. You've gotta love Roger. fun, interesting activities. Now showing at the National Cinema, and they've spelled it with a G like Nasher. Indiana Bones in Raiders of the Lost Ark. I like that. And here we have Dennis the Menace and Nasher again. And this could well be the last story in the book. In fact, I don't think it is, but it is close to the end of the book. So I think it's probably fitting that they have another Dennis and Nasher story as they were the main characters of the Beano. And I think they probably still are, although I haven't seen what a modern Beano looks like. So they could well be still the main characters, I would imagine they are. So here we have a wintertime story in the snow. And there they are, terrorizing those first soldiers again. But as you can see, the soldiers are getting their own back on them, shooting them with snowballs coming out of the cannon here on the tank. And here we have a story with Danny's nanny. I guess this must be Danny. This must be the nanny. Or perhaps the dog is the nanny. Who knows? I don't recall this story. Yeah, I'm very surprised at how much I don't remember from this annual, but I do think that I remember the main characters. I think that matters the most. So here we have an image of what the Beano comic book essentially looked like. It used to come in this white style of paper, and yeah, you were able to fold it. So I used to fold it in three and then carry it around in my back pocket like a newspaper. All the cool kids did that. And yeah, it used to come out on Thursdays. I remember that. And I used to go down to the local shop and get it with my friend. So here we are on the back page, and we have the nasty face contest, or rather that's a ghastly face contest. And it looks as though one of the Bass Street kids has won it. And let's see who else we have here. Looks like Nasher is going to jump on his feet. And there we have little Ivy the Terrible squirting some squeezy lemons up into their faces. And Minnie, Dennis and Roger are very happy about that. And even though they all wore black and red, none of them were related. So yeah, Dennis's pets. But he didn't make all that many appearances, not nearly as many as Gnasher, who was always by Dennis's side. And there we have the Backstreet Kids coming in second and third. So let's just flick back over to the front. I have to say that I really enjoyed this look at the Beano Book from 1995. Really did bring back a whole lot of memories for me. And if this was your very first experience of the Beano, I hope you had an enjoyable one. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button. And if you like content like this, consider subscribing to the channel as well. But a big thank you for joining me today for this review of the Beano Book from 1995. And until next time, rest easy.